Joining us now via the miracle of the internet, the director, the creator, the, guy behind the EDP445 documentary. Everyone, welcome to the show, Mike Klum. Hello, Mike.
Hello. How are
Good
you?
to see you, buddy.
Hey, Mike.
Welcome to our little corner of the chaos internet here. Before we talk, I think it's important we should probably play the trailer just to get everybody caught up on this, because
Do it.
what you've created is terrifying. Here it is.
Sophie is how old? Before? And again, I have it right here. I know the answer, but I just need you to tell me the answer. How old is she? 13. 13, okay. And before we get into the messages, there was sexual content involved, yes or no?
Right.
And you said...
Correct.
Okay, all right. Again, so what brings you out here today?
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake and then go over.
This is the story of EDP445.
Like, he went to that place to have sex with a 13-year-old.
Definitely viewer discretion is advised. You know, dude's a perverted dude.
EDP soliciting sex from who he thinks is an underage kid.
He sent me videos of him masturbating.
I would say EDP is completely innocent.
So what advice would I give to EDP445? You need to stop doing this documentary.
Fucking a bitch's innocence away, you know?
Why do you think you wanted to have sex with a 13-year-old?
I mean, the reason why I wanted to have sex with a 13-year-old is already fucking clear. Oh, well, he was talking to 13 and 12-year-olds. Fuck all that. None of you fucking faggots can break my ass because I'm still standing, bitch.
All right. So, Mike, you did it. You created this documentary around EDP445. I did not know what EDP meant before then. I don't know if anybody did, but that's one of the things we learned about this in the documentary.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I do apologize for bringing down your quality of life. I imagine.
At least you could.
Watching this has gotten slightly worse after seeing that trailer. So.
Yeah, everybody is in a much worse place now. But thank you for that. I feel there needs to be context before we bring you on. So I watched the entire documentary. Phoenix, you're about 3/4 of the way through.
3/4. Yeah.
Juju, you don't have a whole lot of interest in it because you like to be happy in life. But I have.
This is horrific. I'm too sensitive. Sorry.
Well, millions of people have downloaded or at least watched it through X and through YouTube. And I got this page of notes here that I just kind of wanted to go down on.
Let's do it.
All right. So
I wanted having me on because we did connect on, looking back comparatively, we all thought the Dark Sad Life of Boogie 298 was some type of, really melancholy film. And so looking back when we connected 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when I just had uploaded something for you guys.
Oh, hey, Mike, I think you're, do you have a mic? You're kind of cutting out on your mic.
I'm going to try turning off his echo cancellation for a second.
Sure.
That'll work.
Okay. But a little bit. Let's pop them up a little more. But you were as we get that squared away, I'll pop in the next question. So we originally met back on the Boogie doc, and that was a couple of years ago now, and that was wildly successful. This one we got a little feedback now from whatever you just
putting echo back on.
Okay.
Yeah, try that back on.
There we go. That's better. But we met you a couple of years ago when you released the Boogie doc, and Boogie actually makes an appearance in this doc, which was kind of a nice little full circle moment here. But in your time documenting EDP, which once again, this is one of the most evil, vile, sick dudes I've ever seen before. I didn't know a whole lot about him before we started, but what I saw was someone who I describe as an insecure narcissist, someone who It's all about him while still having no self-confidence at all. Is that accurate?
Insecure you could put, I think, a lot of YouTubers, if not most YouTubers, into the bucket of insecure narcissists. It's to the extent, do they act on criminal behavior or not, and how good are they at sort of holding back, sort of doing things that are illegal or could be allegedly illegal. So I think EDP is like a lot of people on the internet. They want to get their voice heard. They want to say crazy things. They want to express themselves. They don't, maybe give a shit about, kind of negative feedback. And so it just happened to be that he did try to he left his house to go meet up with a 13-year-old to have sex, which is immoral and a crime. But I think the reason he wanted to do this was largely just for the same reason a lot of people make YouTube videos. They just want to share their story and talk and get their name out. So I would say probably there's definitely some narcissism there, definitely some insecurity, but I don't think it's super unique to him. I think that it's anyone that's broadcasting themselves on the internet probably is like that a little bit.
Hey everybody, good to see you. With with that said, there was something that stuck out to me immediately about him. Early, he talked about being denied by girls early on in his life, and I think that's an underlying theme that goes with that insecurity that he has. Like that really resonated with him so much so that it shaped him after being denied, and almost like the power imbalance there between, like he almost feels like he has to have this power over these young girls because he wants to almost get back at that time in his life, if you will. That's kind of something that I picked up on, or maybe I missed that. I don't know. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. I think, don't we all have a story that we were rejected, particularly in grade school or high school? And so it's how you cope with that, and whether you sort of blame a whole gender for the rest of your life, or whether you take accountability and just say, hey, this is how life goes, and you're not going to get every love interest that you have. I think with him, he created a lot of resentment towards women that I don't necessarily think that caused any attraction to minors. I think that might have caused some red pill sort of kind of affiliations or content he's sort of dived into over the years. I think attraction to minors is more than likely, a combination of genetic and environmental factors. If you're interested in minors, because you got rejected, if everyone that got rejected in grade school and middle school developed an attraction to minors as a result, everyone would be attracted to minors, right?
Well, didn't he say, correct me for a moment, didn't he talk about how that he couldn't even talk to people, that there wasn't even women his own age that was interested in him? Am I correct on that?
Well, that's all opinion, right?
I'm not trying to give this guy excuses, by the way. I'm just trying to get to the character of this guy.
Peak, put yourself in this perspective. Here the guy is his peak. 5 million subscribers on YouTube, 600,000 followers on Instagram. This was in 2021. So this is equivalent modern day of probably 1.5 million or 1 million. This is a famous person. So even if a tiny percent of the population, you have to imagine, even if he scrolls through his likes on a picture, there's going to be a woman that's within acceptable age range. This is someone that I think there were women that were very attracted to his personality. He's definitely a very unique looking guy for the average sort of beauty standards for men. But I think that is it a question of, were any women attracted to him? I think there were. It's just to the extent that he had the social skills and sort of the social stamina to kind of deal with a grown woman that, wanted to, interact with him in a certain sense. And, he basically, what happened, he was following all these younger people on Instagram and commenting things like sexy and cute on people that were clearly, I'd say teenagers and sort of in an age that's just not appropriate, especially at your main account with your 600,000 followers. And so that's when Cold Raven who's another creator, saw all this activity and started to begin the process to kind of take this guy down.
Well, he got taken. Well, the attempts to take him down were multiple, and they've all more or less failed as far as him landing in any sort of real jail. Despite, as you point out in the documentary, he admits to 16 crimes over the course of the documentary. But through various YouTuber investigations, they have more or less fumbled the bag when it comes to those things. Phoenix, you had a question for Mike in regards to that.
Yeah, I didn't see I got 3/4 of the way through, so I don't know if this is addressed at the end. But I guess, one of the things that I was curious about, did you walk away with that in some ways that when you have a YouTube groups like this that are trying to do these little sting operations and stuff like that, did you walk away that they had that they were in this for the right reasons, or were they themselves in a way predatoring for success and clicks and things like that? That almost everyone here is guilty to an extent. Again, not of the same crime. I'm being very clear, but that there was no good guys here, just a lot of villains.
Yeah, I would say that that's a common sentiment after watching the film, that nobody looks good, and perhaps you could argue, including me. Why did I make this? Should I be platforming, quote unquote, this person? And so I didn't try to make anybody look good. And I didn't even, I was okay with myself being brought down a bit. I think in the case of the predator catchers, they're content creators ultimately. I don't think anyone's denying that. They make money the same way that they would if they were doing pranks or any other type of content. I think that to the extent that if any of them are sort of really trying to moralize what they do, I think that could be critiqued. But I think when you look at a lot of them, they're kind of honest most of the time. They do it to make money. So there is a critique of predator catchers. But yeah, none of them did it correctly. Alex Rosen did not, execute the first one in 2021 in a way that could be used, necessarily for to get a prosecution. And then even worse, in 2023, Gideon and Skeeter Jean did a catch that was not usable, really. And that, in fact, one wasn't even a catch. It was just sort of a lot of messy details, and then they just showed up to sort of confront him. Now, the good news is they've all gotten way better. Alex Rosen, if you look at his newest content, is substantially better at sort of his operation with predator poachers. You can say what you want about him, personally and whatever, but his ability to get convictions is way better. And then Skeeter and Gideon have gotten way better. In fact, at the time, Gideon wasn't even doing predator catching; he was doing pranks. So he just approached this as almost like a prank video. So he was not tuned into how to effectively do this, how to interact with law enforcement, and when to interact with law enforcement. So they were all, how EDP got lucky in that he was interacting with Alex, Skeeter, and Gideon at the very early curve of their predator catching journey. And so he was the one that was almost the guinea pig for, that now I think if Alex would have caught EDP now, I don't think EDP would be around to talk about it.
He didn't do it properly, and yeah, I think that's hopefully that'll be the case. But one thing, when I just go into the mind of this guy, right? We're talking about a guy severely addicted to porn, who sends shit pics to people on a whim, like you included. He just would send pictures of his poop to you for whatever. Like, did you prompt him that? Were you like, hey, send me some poop pics, or did he just randomly send them to you because he felt like he had a relationship with you?
Well, no, EDP actually, well in advance of me, had been sending poop pictures to all types of people, and had been known. This was a known aspect of his personality. In fact, I didn't get it into the film, but he had actually sent poop pictures, like AKA shit pics, to the actual 13-year-old that he was messaging. So this is something that he does. He has perhaps his own reasons, but no one can truly understand why this goes on. I don't really understand. And maybe it's a humor thing. Maybe it's some type of sexual kink. Maybe it's some type of way of getting back at, kind of the trolls and such. But it is certainly an odd behavior that naturally I was signing up for, and I couldn't necessarily tell him to stop because, it's part of the journey. and it has the good news is I have not received any shit pics since the documentary's been released. But now that I say that, maybe he'll start up again. So,
well, okay. So a couple things. At any point during the doc, were you like, or during the production of it, were you like, I can't do this?
No. By the time the thing about EDP, almost everything was already public. So, on the scene in 2021, he admitted to everything. Who the age of the girl, what he wanted to do. Alex Rosen went through the chat logs. So in 2021, everything he basically said in the documentary, I'd say a good chunk of it, had already been public. And, whether it's shit pics or other things. So I knew what I was signing up for coming off of the Boogie documentary. And so by the time I was filming, it was a bit shocking to hear him sort of framing certain things in the way he did. There were also some things that were unexpected, but that nothing. I'm pretty good at separating my emotion from, like my work and what I'm doing. And so I don't feel a ton, as I'm capturing things and whatever. I'm just, I'm doing my job. And so, yeah, I guess, no, there wasn't any point. I honestly was just like, hey, let's, if anything, this is so compelling that I have to keep working on it more. I would have loved to get it done in 6 months or a year. And I thought I was going to get it done in 6 months. Because Boogie Doc only took 9 months. I'm like, hey, maybe I'll get this one done even a little bit quicker. But it just became such a big project with so many layers that it just took so long.
What's your relationship now with this guy since the documentary?
It's fairly positive. I mean, I don't think he probably loves every aspect of the film. He has a unique way of coping with any. Think about this guy. I mean, EDP, he's gone through so much, for better, for worse, and has to have ways to cope with all this stuff or he'd be, insane or no longer alive, whether it's kidney failure, whether it's the catch number 1 where he was globally known as like this guy trying to meet a 13-year-old, or the catch number 2, or just becoming a famous guy in the first place. So he's found ways to kind of accept that this film has been made and out. I think that he largely has separated what I put in the film from his view of me personally. It is what it is. I told him everything was going to be in it. I told him the name. That was the one thing that he didn't necessarily like, was the name of the film. And I told him, I was like, hey, it's The Sick Mind of EDP445. And he was like, you know what? I prefer The Disturbed Mind of EDP445. Okay. And I was like, of all the things, of all the things. So I think he understands, and I think, there's tons of feedback for him and critique of him, of course. But the one thing you can't say is that he didn't honestly address the things that were asked, and that he took this project on head on for what it is. And you can question whether that's a good thing or bad thing or what that will lead to. But it is something he did. So our relationship, I guess, is as positive, I guess, as it could be relative to the situation.
Okay. Well, we only got another minute or so with you. So I want to be quick, real fast. Tell me about the guy you hired, I'm assuming hired to play EDP in the recreations. Because correct me if I'm wrong, this was his first acting gig?
Yeah, I'm sure he had done small stuff before. I found a guy. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, so I was just going on. I was like, hey, ideally I can find a guy local to me. And so I'm looking around on Instagram and different things and sort of acting websites, and I see this guy who relatively sort of looks a little bit like, him in a certain kind of way. And I hit him up. And he thought it was like an acting scam. We met up at Chipotle, and I had to basically convince him that I'm real. I gave him some money just to say, hey, like, this is real. And he had dreads, or like the whole time. One thing I'll throw out, like we're tucking his dreads. That's why he's always wearing a bandana or a hoodie or whatever. But he did a fantastic job. We filmed this on and off. All the B-roll and all the reenactments with him was probably filmed over about a 1.5 year period. So he kind of does age a little bit. But we shot it sort of progressively. We shot the kind of the teen stuff, and then we shot the stuff later. But he did a fantastic job. And and he was paid. Everyone like he was compensated well, and so he's done interviews, and he's enjoying the sort of popularity yeah. So
it's such a weird, surreal thing being like, hey, listen, I need you to be this child predator in this documentary for me. Like, this seems like a really, really interesting job. You've now done the Boogie doc, you've done the EDP doc, and obviously the biggest question everybody wants to know is, when is the DSP doc coming, Mike?
Listen, the thing is,
yes, please.
Here's the thing: Darkside Phil is one of the original, all-time great gaming streamers. Period. And I think that it would be an honor. It would, I believe, in many ways, people would not group DSP and EDP together. It's a whole new lane that he would be helping me get into and documenting. I think a very positive person. And so I have reached out to Phil, and I would love to do the Dark Side Phil documentary. He actually got a small little cameo because he was commenting about me throughout the period of time. And so I put him in there. Phil, if you're watching, I know the side scrollers, you might have your thoughts on them and whatnot, but I love your content, Phil, and I would love to document your life and your journey. I think that you're a great member of the online community and just really bring a lot of joy to a lot of people, for better or for worse. So I appreciate you asking that, and hopefully at some point it could come together. I could see it being tough. Phil is a tough guy, and he runs a tight ship, tight business, small business, and but yeah.
He said he is looking to do more collabs with people. So just saying, Mike, there could be an opportunity there. And look, to be clear, everybody knows Darkside Phil is the greatest gamer that ever lived. All right. And I think that he is a pinnacle of entertainment online. And if we can one day reach the heights that Phil has achieved, then we would one day get there. And I think that would be incredible, and I would be honored if we reach the levels of Darkside Phil, because God knows, after Side Scrollers is long gone, Phil will still be there, acting it up.
You guys would, and I love the Side Scrollers, but you guys would be nothing without Darkside. I don't even know if the show would exist.
I agree.
Without
I agree.
Darkside
Listen, Phil truly made us
map.
who we are. I agree. Phil. Between him and the quartering, like, we appreciate everybody slumming with us, and Mike, we appreciate you slumming with us as well today. Thank you very much for joining us today for a little bit. And
thank you for having me on it, guys. Shout out Side Scrollers. You guys brought me on 3 years ago. I had 5 or 10,000 subscribers. I just uploaded the Boogie doc, so I appreciate all your support. It was fun to chat with you, and we'll have to do it again.